Welcome to my channel. I've got a couple more stories here. One is about a woman talking about her boyfriend's wild weekend plans. One is about another couple that were on a break and the hijinks that went on during that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Here we go. This story is titled, My 24 female boyfriend, 28 male, spent $300 on a hotel room 6 hours away. He claims he didn't use it. Been dating my boyfriend for 6 months. We live 1.5 hours apart. Recently, a colleague of his mid-30s, father of 2 young girls, confided in him that he was starting the divorce process, and it was going to be a messy one. He needed a place to crash, and my boyfriend offered up his spare room. Early in the week, boyfriend told me he wouldn't be able to drive out to my place to see me this weekend. He apologized, said he needed to help his buddy work on the divorce paperwork. Saturday they were planning to move some of his things out of the house. Buddy needed an extra hand to help with the lifting. Sucks to not get to see my boyfriend, but I tell him I understand completely and praise him for taking such good care of his friend. Friday night rolls around, boyfriend calls me after returning from having several drinks with soon-to-be divorcee. He asks what I'm getting into Saturday. Hiking. I tell him I thought about asking a guy friend, not an ex, he's aware of this non-threatening friend, to come along. He proceeds to freak out, tells me, men aren't your friends, they just want to frick you, and I back off. I decide to ask my mom instead. Saturday morning, boyfriend calls me. He says he's going hiking now, with the soon-to-be divorcee, who I learn went out to frick a random girl after their drinks at the bar. Not divorced yet, but oh well, none of my business. I get annoyed and hang up, realizing the discrepancy between how he'd originally described his weekend versus how it was shaping up. I was also upset that he'd made a big deal about me going hiking and somehow failed to mention his plans had changed in a massive way. He realizes I'm pissed, tries calling me over and over. I don't pick up. I answer this morning. Boyfriend has driven 6.5 hours away with this guy. The trip was to this friend's family cabin, but my boyfriend rented a separate $300 hotel room for him and his friend. This was at the friend's request. Weird part is that boyfriend sent me alibi pictures without me asking for them. One of him and his friend at a cabin, another one of his friend tucked neatly in bed at the cabin at 12 p.m. It looked posed, and 12 p.m. is really freaking early for these dudes to be passing out on a Saturday night. Boyfriend swears the hotel room was rented for literally no reason. According to my boyfriend, they went to the hotel room, dropped their bags off, and then proceeded to go hang out with his friend's mom and stepdad at the family cabin, and ended up crashing there. Just feels off to me. Like this was a getaway weekend he was afraid to tell me was happening. I would have been completely understanding if he'd been upfront about it. When boyfriend called me this morning, he was sitting in the hotel parking lot. He claims he drove back there to pick up his things. Am I just being paranoid? Or would this send up your red flags too? Background. My boyfriend is very charismatic and prides himself on being able to skillfully manipulate people. It's part of his job. He, of course, swears he'd never use those skills on me. Lol, I already have issues trusting him. He lied to me when I'd asked him if he'd ever gotten anyone pregnant. He said, no, never. Then a few weeks later he'd forgotten I'd asked, and he spilled the beans about getting a girl pregnant when he was 18. She had an abortion. He said he lied deliberately to preserve our relationship. He also won't let me near his phone. Won't let me hold it for 2 seconds to change the song on Spotify. He'll swerve around like crazy searching for a title, despite me begging him to just let me do it. Comment 1. It's only been a few months and you have so many signs he's shady, and you know he's lied about big things and little things. For frick's sakes, have some standards and just dump him. You don't need to prove anything about cheating or what exactly happened on this trip. When he told you that men aren't your friends and only want to frick you, what that means is that he, your boyfriend, thinks that way. The only reason he can think of to befriend a woman is to frick her, and he thinks it's okay to pretend to want to be friends with a woman while secretly waiting for his chance to make a move. Why bother being friends with a woman if you're not going to get sex out of the deal? That's how your boyfriend thinks. That's reason enough to dump him. Don't waste time investigating specifics of what he did, or working through the breakup together. You tell him, not in person, you're ending the relationship and you wish him well and you don't wish to have further contact, then you block him on everything. That way you don't have to worry about him manipulating you into getting back together. Clean break, dump him and block him, and if tries to contact you after that via other means, tell him once that any further attempts at contact will be regarded as harassment and reported as such. And follow through with that, if necessary. Comment 2. It feels off because it is. This was all a fabrication and you know it. He's a liar and a plotter and he thinks you're stupid enough to buy why he's selling. Don't be. Comment 3. Girl, your gut knows best. Just came out of a similar situation with a guy who lied like he was paid for it. I busted him in the end and felt a whole lot better. Call the hotel and say you left something behind in the room booked by your man's name and that you can't remember the room number. They won't know you weren't the same girl who was there. Tell them you went back to the hotel after midnight but you can't remember exactly what the time. Can they look up CCTV footage of you going back, please? Because you remember the watch on your wrist at 11 at night, so you don't know if you left the watch at the bar or the hotel room. They'll confirm CCTV footage of your man and a woman, then boom, you've busted him. Comment 4. Why did you cancel hiking plans with your male friend? You're not responsible for managing your immature boyfriend's unreasonable expectations. Do whatever the frick you want, he can deal with his own shite. Comment 5. That's the price of a jacuzzi room at the fancy hotel I used to work at. He's jealous of your friend because he's projecting. He's probably living up the single life with his friend but wants to keep stringing you along. I think you know that, and even if he wasn't, the fact that he's proud of being manipulative, lied before and is irrationally jealous is enough to put this relationship in a bad place. Comment 6. How did you find out about the hotel room? Did he tell you? Also, what is his financial situation? If he makes a lot of money and $300 is chump change, maybe it really isn't anything weird. However, if spending $300 is something he would usually crab about, then it's sketchy. To me, though, it sounds like if him and his friend were in cahoots, he would just book a hotel to cheat on you and not mention a word about it and say he was staying with his friend. Also, did he tell you that his friend picked up some girl at the bar? To me, it seems like if he wanted to cheat on you, he wouldn't tell you that. However, who knows? Comment 7. Whether or not he told the truth or not, his actions has made it easy for you to not trust him. You're 6 months in and posting to Reddit because I would presume you want to know if what you're thinking seems right to others. I can't tell you if he cheated or why he decided to act like that, but I can tell you that this post screams that you can't trust him. And that he thinks he needs to go the extra mile to get you to trust him. Without trust in your relationship, especially this early, this relationship isn't going to work. Also want to add, trust your gut. It's telling you something, you just need to listen. This story is titled, My Boyfriend Made Out with His Friend While We Were on a Break from Our 11-Year Relationship. What do I do? My boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 27 female, have been together for almost 11 years. We've been living together for 2 years, and even moved recently. My boyfriend is a healthcare worker, and as can be expected is really struggling during COVID. He has PTSD from all of the stress, memory loss of the past few months, and it's bringing back some previous trauma. I've been really doing my best to be as supportive as I can during this time. It hasn't always been easy. Well, last week he decided to tell me he wanted to break up. It came as a bit of a shock because a few months ago we were looking at wedding venues and houses. We talked a lot and agreed that he wasn't in the best mental state to be ending such a long relationship. And we would take a short 3-day break from each other and talk again while I stayed with some friends. We did. He said he made a mistake and wanted me back. I needed time and didn't come back for another few days. I was proud of him because he had seen a psychiatrist and had signed up for therapy. I told him I knew that he couldn't focus on the relationship, but I just wanted him to work on himself and that would be enough for me. Now here's the tricky part. Honestly, the days I spent with my friends felt like a weight had been lifted off my chest. It's really exhausting being the emotional support of the relationship. On top of that, I've felt extremely strung along the past few weeks. He isn't sure what he wants or needs. Yesterday he told me that during the time we were on a break he made out with one of his coworkers. He says I shouldn't be upset because we were on a break, and that's what people do. But it was less than 48 hours after an 11-year relationship, and he then said he wanted me back. Am I right to be upset? I'm honestly thinking I should end things because why should I spend so much of my energy trying to be good for him when he will just hook up with someone after everything? I think this is just the end of my rope. What do I do? If you made it this far, thank you. I feel like I just need some outside perspective. Comment 1. First of all, he doesn't get to decide what you should be upset about. But more importantly, you say you felt lighter during the break. That's huge. I feel sympathy for anyone on the front lines of COVID, but it's not fair for you to carry this load in the relationship. Every breakup is sad, but if you feel better away from him, that's not tricky. It's a clear sign the relationship isn't working for you. Comment 2. Sounds like he wanted a break to sow some wild oats. If he's been paying this girl attention in the weeks coming up to the break, it was going to happen anyway. The break just gave him the out. And the fact is that you also felt relieved to be away from him. Wish him well with his therapist and move on. This relationship sounds like too much work for such little happiness. Comment 3. Honestly, it sounds like he wants to break up, but ending an 11-year relationship takes a level of mental strength that he just doesn't have right now. If he had told you that he wanted to break up and you had just said, okay, I respect your decision, instead of talking him out of it, would he have just walked away? If so, the relationship is over already, and he's just not strong enough to say so. Comment 4. Unless you agreed to terms of the break, like being free to see other people, I would consider what he did pretty unforgivable. It's clear he needs help, and it isn't fair for him to put that weight solely on you. Even if he is getting help now, he broke your trust, and you need to set firm boundaries if the relationship is going to continue. Comment 5. I'll never understand staying with someone for that long being that young. You legitimately have no experience in a relationship other than the one you've been attached to since you were a child. You don't know what the baseline of a good relationship is because you haven't had to break up or understand what is normal and what isn't. You are in a precarious situation right now. Of course, you're going to feel the relief of not having to think about someone else's feelings. It's only natural. It's only have to think about yourself, which would give you relief. On a lighter note, I think deep down in places you don't want to talk about that you know you would probably be better off single for the time being. I absolutely think you should break up and live your life. You haven't really started living yet until you're in your prime and able to do what you want to do. Comment 6. A break means you guys can do whatever you want. You have the freedom to be upset about anything you want in the world, but it doesn't mean you are right. Comment 7. Honestly, I think you should leave him just because you felt relieved during the break. I broke up with an ex once, 4+ year relationship, engaged, after things had been kind of bad for a while. I definitely cried after and missed him for a bit and had second thoughts, but like after a while it passed and I felt more free and happier. Some people aren't meant to be in your life forever, and that's kind of okay. Time to move on. Thank you so very much for listening. Please check out my other videos and like and subscribe.